I got to mention the Fab Five. I know you've played, obviously, and known members of the Fab Five. So when the Fab Five hit, they were like our Beatles. I had never seen anything bigger than the Fab Five. And I was friends. I played a lot of sports with, so the Michigan coach at the time was Steve Fisher. And I'm the same age as his son, Mark Fisher. So we played a lot of basketball and soccer growing up together. And I would go to the Michigan camp every year. And one of my proudest moments, like my first year at Michigan camp, I actually got a recruitment letter from them. And I was just like, I still have that recruitment letter. Obviously, I did not play basketball at the University of Michigan. That might have been my peak there in seventh grade. Yeah, I got to know the Fab Five a little bit through Coach Fisher, Coach Jay Smith, who's at Michigan and is on Juwan's staff right now. And Michigan basketball camp was like the highlight of every single year going there. And so to have college sports, Michigan football is obviously, a household brand. Michigan basketball, in my mind, is just as good. I love Michigan basketball and what Coach Howard is doing. So to have those two forces in my life at a young age, as all I was doing was playing basketball, you just couldn't ask for anything better.
Hoop Dreams, the podcast, an Unlearning Network production.
The man joining us today is a Michigan native. He's won an Emmy as an executive producer of Between Two Ferns. And Zach, I can't even pronounce that name, so I don't want to kill it.
Zach Galifianakis.
Zach Galifianakis. He has been nominated for multiple Emmys for shows such as Sarah Silverman, We Are Miracles, Billy on the Street, and Game of Thrones, and is currently the CEO of the film and TV production company Funny or Die, which has over 40 million followers across all the social media platforms. We like to welcome to the Hoop Dreams podcast, Mr. Mike Farah. I'm Will Gates, and that's my dog.
Arthur Agee, welcome to the show, Mike. Appreciate you being on here, man. How you doing?
It's my honor. It's my honor. I'm flattered to be here. I'm huge fans of you and this podcast. And I'm thrilled to be here. I don't know why you guys invited me. I might disappoint some of your viewers. It's like, who is this dude? But I'll do my best to share some stories and entertain. But I really appreciate the time with you guys.
No, man, we glad you're here. But Mike, we always start our show off this way. The first question that I just want to throw at you, since you say you're a Hoop Dreams fan, when was the first time that you saw the movie?
Well, let me just say, I've probably seen your film a legitimate 25 times. It's a seminal movie in my life, and so many of my friends' lives. But the first time I saw it, I had seen that poster behind Arthur, and I was just like, "Oh, who's this dude with this sick finger roll here?" I was just like, "What's this about?" And I saw some reviews. And I saw it with two of my best friends. I'm still very close with them, Marty Williams and Johnny Mann. And we saw it at the State Theater in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And it changed our lives. It changed our lives. I probably watch it every year. And it's just incredible, that film. It's so ahead of its time. It was so generous of you both to let those cameras and those filmmakers into your lives. I can't even imagine how personal and vulnerable that must have felt, especially at such a young age. But at the same time, it's a credit. The work continues, and it continues to inspire.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Mike, our shows, again, we're a little different. Agee and I, we don't try to be like all the other podcasts out there because truthfully, and I know you said people wouldn't be interested, but they really are, because this show really is all about you. We want your origin story. Tell us a bit about your childhood growing up. And we're from the Midwest, you from the Midwest. What was Ann Arbor, Michigan like?
I played basketball my whole life. I didn't reach the levels that you two reach, but we could hold our own in the mid 90s in the Michigan scene. And still to this day, I'm going to play tonight. I'm going to try. Anytime you play at the age of 43 and you don't get injured, that's a win. So yes. Hopefully I won't get injured. But just from my earliest days, basketball was just a place where I thought of nothing else except that moment, just playing with a team. I love team sports. Everything that I've been able to do in Hollywood is because I've been a part of a great team. And I just love the strategy, the community, the competition. It was just a huge part of my life. And I wouldn't trade. I think about what I learned playing basketball for all those years every day, working in entertainment. And so, yeah, like I said, my dad is Palestinian. He came to this country on a boat to go to the University of Michigan. He actually had to go to junior college first because at the time, the University of Michigan didn't let in immigrants. So he worked in the factories in Flint, Michigan, and went to junior college up there, and then transferred to Michigan. And eventually he met my mom, who's from Grand Rapids, Michigan. And in many ways, when I moved out to LA, I didn't really know anyone or anything. So I've always felt like an immigrant in LA, the same way that my dad felt like an immigrant to this country. And immigrants get a lot done. It's just our nature. And so, I grew up playing sports, went to Catholic school. I went to Ann Arbor Gabriel Richard High School, which at the time was in the Detroit Catholic League. So I spent a lot of time playing all over Michigan, but specifically in Detroit. The best team at that time was Detroit East Catholic. They had a great program. We never beat them, but it was fun to play them. Just like the community, the diversity, growing up around different people from different countries and different backgrounds was just the norm for me in Michigan, in Ann Arbor. So I was very grateful for that.
Hey, Mike, what was Ann Arbor like, though? I mean, you say y'all was in the Detroit Catholic League. Is that like on the outskirts of the? Yeah.
So Ann Arbor is about 45 minutes outside of Detroit. So it's not really a suburb. It's because the University of Michigan is there, and that really generates a lot of activity and culture and sports and entertainment. So, it's kind of like a nice blend of like academics and athletes and it was lots of immigrants because so many people like my dad were attracted to the University of Michigan. And so it just felt like, I always feel bad when you meet people and they're like embarrassed or they don't have a fond memory of where they grew up. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's the complete opposite. I was just back there for the 4th of July. I go back and see my family. My family still stays there. I go back for Michigan basketball and football games. So it's really foundational. Like in movies, like in your movie, Chicago is another character in your film, right? Mm-hmm. Ann Arbor, Michigan, and Michigan is definitely a character in my life story.
That's all right there. You left out one part about Ann Arbor, Michigan, though.
Yeah.
Mike, you got to explain to the people, lake effect snow. See, a lot of people ain't from the Midwest. They don't understand that. Tell people what lake effect snow is and how that is just worse than a regular snowstorm.
You all get it worse in Chicago, but I remember going to Grand Rapids, which is Grand Rapids is 2-3 hours away from Chicago. And it's closer to Lake Michigan. So on the western side of the state is Lake Michigan. That's where Grand Rapids is. And obviously Chicago is literally on Lake Michigan. Yeah, so you would get some brutal lake effect snow where I just remember it being windy and it would come out of nowhere and it would just like pile up so high so fast. And you're just like it was like 45 degrees yesterday and now like we can't even get out of the house.
Yeah. And it blows sideways.
Yeah, seriously. And so we got some of that in Ann Arbor, but I remember it most visiting my grandparents up in Grand Rapids.
Grand Rapids. I actually still got family down there in Grand Rapids. But Agee and I, Mike, heard that, man, you're a big basketball fan, which you've talked about the University of Michigan and you playing. Who put you on the game, though? Who got you involved?
Oh, man. When I was young, I would go to these sports camps, and a lot of the counselors were Division I athletes. And even though I was a kid, I just became friends with them. And so, some of them, there was a football player from Eastern. There was a basketball player from Toledo. And even when the camp was done, like I would just hang out with them and they would like put me through drills. Like I think what I'm trying to say is like when I was in 6th grade, I think everyone thought I would be really good. and then like after 6th grade, because like when I'm 6'4", and when I graduated high school, my whole dream was to weigh 150 pounds. I never achieved that dream. But in 6th grade, everyone was as skinny as I was, and I was tall, but I just did, this was before like being like Chet Holmgren was like really in fashion, I guess. And so all of those camp counselors, they just put me onto it. And one of my close friends, Evan Burgess, who I'm still close with, his dad, Larry Burgess, was our coach. And I just came up with a group of kids who were athletic, and we would just play nonstop. And I think in Chicago, you guys had maybe Hoop It Up, but in Michigan, we had Gus Macker. Yeah. The 3-on-3 tournament. Mm-hmm. We played Gus Mackers all over the Midwest. And we were the Hitmen. That was our name, the Hitmen.
Okay.
And like we always got to like the finals, and those games were multiple times games of ours had to be canceled because fights broke out. Wow. Yeah. Amongst like the fans and the parents. Yeah. And so one time during a game, a dude literally was so upset he threw like a chair out into the court, like Bobby Knight style. and could you imagine, like now you're thinking about it, this is before everything was recorded. So like when that happened, like, what do? You just like go on with your life, but your game's canceled because like they don't, like one of the Gus Macker tournaments like literally was canceled halfway through because of a riot. Wow. So it was hardcore, but now you can laugh at it. But like that was, I would say Gus Macker, those camp counselors, of course, and like Fab Five, the bad boys, Chicago's own Isaiah Thomas, which I know Arthur, you obviously looked up to so close. And there's like the seminal scene with you and Isaiah at the St. Joseph's camp. Yeah. So it was just like this golden age of just premium basketball for a kid and a bunch of friends who just played nonstop.
Okay, but look, besides the Gus Macker, because in Chicago, and we always say this, we always played outside on the concrete. Like there was a neighborhood basketball court that me and William could always go to and get us a game in and play there all day. Was that a court like that in your neighborhood?
There were lots of courts. Yeah, we played a lot. Obviously, we played a lot at school. And because I went to so many camps, because like Chicago is obviously so much more densely populated than Ann Arbor, right? So a lot of the courts we would play in was like just at our friend's house. We played a lot at my mom's house. My mom's house, my parents got divorced when I was pretty young. And I actually like switched houses literally every night. And we played a lot of basketball at my mom's house. I was just there a few weeks ago, and I was just realizing like, this is so small. How did like 10 kids fit on this like patch of concrete that's basically the size of this office right here? Right. What I mean? But we made it work, and like we knew where like where that concrete step was. We knew like what was out of bounds. We knew it was a 3. And like as we grew, we had to keep on raising the hoop and like getting new supports to like raise the hoop up. And we had played during the winter. We would have like warm water there so we could put our hands into the water and be playing on ice and snow. We did not care. And so, yeah, it was, God, now I'm just realizing maybe I should, I haven't thought about these memories in so long, but this is like the power of basketball in my life.
Man.
See, our viewers didn't know that about the CEO.
We're getting.
I actually play like, because when I started at Funyard High, and I've been there since 2008, and the founders are Will Ferrell and Adam McKay, and they love sports, and they're both pretty good athletes. Will's a really good athlete, and I think because I didn't really know those dudes until I got hired, and then Will was in that basketball movie Semi-Pro, when he played Jackie Moon, and like Andre 3000 was in, and Woody Harrelson. That was actually the Flint Tropics. That was the name of that team, in Michigan. So Will was in Semi-Pro, and there was this pickup game when I started. So I was like, all right, well, let me go down there. And I think my basketball ability helped raise their view of me pretty quickly on. Because I'm younger. I could jump much higher than they could. So it definitely helped on the business front too.
That's what's up. I know Will was like, oh shit, he can play.
And I would not go easy on him either. Will's a great guy, so he doesn't care about that stuff. But yeah, we would go at it. His brother Pat's really good too. His brother's probably like 6'5".
How big is Will Ferrell? How tall is he?
He's like a legit 6'3", almost 6'4".
Wow.
Yeah, no, he's a big dude and good people, real good people.
Speaking of Funny or Die, did you know early on when you around that teenage year or going into college, did you know you wanted to get into film?
Not at all. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So my whole family went to the University of Michigan. I actually went down to IU. I went to Indiana University in Bloomington. And it was a great experience because even though it was only 5 hours away, it kind of got me out of my comfort zone, because going to Michigan, it was just literally too close to home because it's like 5 minutes, So I went down to Bloomington. I was a finance major, and I loved my time there, but I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I had a corporate finance internship in Buffalo Grove, the suburb of Chicago, and nothing against the fine people of Buffalo Grove. I wouldn't wish Buffalo Grove on anyone.
Right.
I was just like, what? Oh, actually, that summer, all I did was my only relief was like playing basketball. Because there were some decent athletes. There were some kids going down to Illinois to play football that I got into some games with. Mm-hmm. And that experience taught me like, okay, I got to do everything I can to get as far removed from reality as possible. So let's move out to Hollywood.
Wow.
And so after that experience, I went back to IU my senior year, and there was this kid named Josh Golson. And, we were just acquaintances. We weren't close, but he was like one of these dudes who would just like be in classes with you and stuff like that. I was like, hey, what you do for the summer? He's like, oh, I interned in Hollywood. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, like my uncle stays out in Hollywood. I had like an internship at Warner Brothers. And like my mind was literally blown. I couldn't believe a thing. So like when I saw your film and, credits at the ends of movies where like it lists all the people who work on movies, I didn't even know what credits were. I didn't know that those people had a job on your movie. You know what I mean? Because like growing up in the Midwest, we just don't think about these things, right? The credits, like the stuff like that, you left the theater before you got to the credits, like the movie was over, right?
Yeah.
So this dude, Josh, is just like, yeah, I stayed out in LA. I was like, well, and look, I say this with love in my heart. I was just like, well, if this dude can do it, I can. And so,
not throwing no shade on him, but you like shit.
I think, by the way, I think that's without being arrogant, without being cocky, always doing the work. Like, I think it's more people should kind of think that way, right? Like, like I think so much, and Hollywood's a big part of it. Like, there's like this like whole aura and mystique around Hollywood where like, oh, it's not for you. It's not from kids from Michigan. It's not from kids from Chicago. It's not for Latino kids. It's not for Black kids. It's like for rich white kids, right? Mm-hmm. And it doesn't need to be that way because you're just like, when you get out here, you realize like everyone's the same. Everyone has like different access and resources and everyone's story is different. So I'm not trying to minimize anyone's story, but you also are just like, oh, this dude's just like me. Or like, I can do it this person. I can read a script and tell people what I think about it. Like, like a big part of my life also growing up in Ann Arbor, Michigan was going to video stores. Remember like ours was Video Watch.
Yeah.
And we would go to Video Watch. We would just walk around Video Watch for hours. Always like trying to convince someone to go into the little porno room. Remember how like
right?
Like and like sometimes you just see like the dudes walking out of like the porno room and then you try to like slip in before the door closed.
Right.
Like, so yeah, this is why like your movie and so many movies and TV shows were like so influential in me. I was just like, my parents are still both entrepreneurs. They never worked for anyone. They never had like bosses, right? So they just always told us to, find something that you love and figure out a way to get paid to do it. And that's what I've done in Hollywood. I still can't believe I get paid to do it, but it's just proof that if you don't let that intimidation and if you don't let what other people tell you about things impact you too much, if you just decide to jump in, you'll figure out a way to swim.
I like that. Mike, it's interesting though. I had to laugh. You talked about the video stores in the back. I just laughed like, why do we all know where that room is at? That's why I'm laughing. Like, why do we all know where that room was at? So, but
human nature.
Yes.
Hey, Mike, I got a quick question for you. Who was the starting five at Indiana when you went there?
Keep in mind, as much as I love IU, I've always remained a Michigan fan because you can't experience and beat the Fab Five and then change squads.
Right.
Well, the best I can do is the best players when I went to IU were AJ Guyton, Kirk Haston. There was that one dude, white dude, Neil Reed, that Coach Knight choked out, right? Like that, he was Neil Reed.
Yeah, he was on that team.
Let's see who else. Michael Lewis, Tom Coverdale. These are names I'm kind of remembering. Oh, and then the big recruit. Well, he came later, but the kid from Bloomington, Jared Jeffries, he was a big recruit.
Jared Jeffries.
You know what's crazy is I actually remember the IU teams when they played the Fab Five more because you had Calvert Cheney, you had Matt Novar, you had some tall white dude from the UP in Michigan, Todd Lindemann, because like the high school that I went to actually beat Todd Lindemann's school from the UP for the state championship. They had Greg
Luke Reckner.
Oh yeah, Luke Recker. But he transferred to Iowa after a few years.
Yep.
But no, I mean, in a weird way, I kind of just because Bob Knight was like, he just sucked up all the oxygen in IU basketball. So you kind of like just knew way more about the coach than you did the players, which obviously had an unfortunate ending. That's just such a different era now, right? Like there's no way that like kids are not interested in playing second fiddle to do like Bobby Knight.
And Bobby Knight can't handle that clearly, but I digress on that. But Mike, before we go into Funny or Die, how did you actually get from Indiana to Los Angeles? And I want to throw this at you. Can you tell us about the Standard Hotel and how that helped you break into show business?
Oh my God. You start a podcast just with all the people who used to work at the Standard, because that was also just a singular experience for me. So after I graduated IU, after I talked to that dude Josh Golson, I went back to Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I saved up money. I've only done three things in my life. I've worked as a camp counselor, I've worked in restaurants, I've worked in entertainment. So I went back, I worked at a restaurant, saved up some money. At the end of October 2001, I just packed up my truck and drove out to LA and got here. No one cared that I was here, but I got here. And within just 2 or 3 days, I just felt like this was the place I was supposed to be. I love the weather. I love it kind of reminded me of sports, right? Because it's very competitive out here. In sports, the benefit of sports is like you play a game. There's a winner and a loser. Here, you're like winning and losing, but there's awards and things like that, but it's less of a tangible thing, but it's still very competitive. And also you have to work so hard to get where you want to go in sports and to get where you want to go in entertainment. You have to be able to grind and work and do the work when no one's watching. As we all know, that's really where the work comes in. And that just played to my strengths and my experience playing basketball. So I got out here. My first job, I worked security at movie premieres. And
shit.
So I worked security, and I worked security at the Oscars the night that Halle Berry won for Monsters Ball. And I was like supposed to be securing an area, and here comes Halle Berry, which one of the most beautiful women in the world. And I was just like, I'm in the right place. I don't care that I'm like working security. Like this is where I got to be. And I met this dude. Named Sean Booth, who called himself Cowboy, and he spelled Cowboy Kowboi, and he also worked security. He was like some kid out of like the Marines, And like, we hit it off. I was like, any dude named Sean who decides to call himself cowboy, I want to know more about. You know what I mean?
Right.
He was a busboy up at the Standard. And this was like, the Standard was like super hot at this point. This was like paparazzi, Paris Hilton, like the first celebrities I ever saw there, like Mark Wahlberg, they were all up at the Standard on Sunset. And this dude, Cowboy, was a busboy. And like I said, I'd worked in these restaurants. And so he got me an interview. And I had to interview 3 times just to become a food expediter. And for those that don't know, a food expediter isn't a waiter. It's not a busboy. It's just the dude who brings you the food. And that was my job. That was my job for 2.5 years, overnights and weekends at the Standard.
Damn.
Wow. Do you remember serving anybody famous?
Oh, nonstop. Like, so I was like in the restaurant. I'd also like take food out to the pool. That was my jurisdiction, was like the restaurant and the pool. And, you know, when you're sitting there as like a food expediter, you're just waiting for the tickets to come up, and you manage the tickets, and you're seeing like the tables and the orders, and you're organizing all that stuff. And like, there was this like order where it's just like 3 olives, 3 pieces of pita bread, hummus, olive oil on the side, and like 3 flakes of pepper. As it's like, man, I was like, oh shit, this better be for a celebrity, because like, who else would like order anything like that? I got it, and I took it out, and sure enough, it was for Anthony Kiedis, the lead singer of the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Wow.
Oh shit.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, look, if Anthony Kiedis needs his olive oil separated from his hummus, who am I to judge?
That's right.
Let me tell you something right now. From the time that you packed up your truck and drove to, I could just imagine the shit that was going through your mind of what you're going to do when you get to LA. But for you to get to LA and then be working the damn Oscars, what the hell? Like, who does that? Like, how can, I know you felt to yourself, like, when that shit happened, like, I know you was like, I'm supposed to be here. Who drives from fucking Michigan, you know what I'm saying, packs up your truck, get to LA, don't know nobody, and work in security at the fucking Oscars?
I've been very fortunate. I'm a big believer in like, you are the company that you keep. And I had a lot of support from my parents, my friends. Yeah. So I do remember my senior year at IU, you know, it was like towards the end, and like some parents were in town, and my one friend, Frank Parker, his mom, Pam Parker, she took a few of us out to dinner before we graduated. And she was like going around the table, and she was like, oh, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm moving to Chicago to be a consultant. Oh, I'm going into New York to like work in like communications. And then they got to me. I was like, oh, I'm moving to Hollywood. And Pam Parker looked at me, and she was just like, I hope you have a better plan than that. And I was just like, all right, I'm talking about Pam Parker. But by the way, it didn't intimidate me. It was just like, that's what most people would say. So I don't even fault her for saying that, you know, because there are a lot of people who come out here, and for whatever reason, it doesn't work out. It just felt like, you know, like in basketball, where you talk about like certain players fitting into certain systems very well. And so much of someone's career can be like the right player at the right time in the right system. Like, entertainment is the right system for me. And Funny or Die, and that's why I've been here for 14 years. Funny or Die is like the perfect system for just the way I'm built from where I grew up, my family, my friends, my experience with sports. And so there's not a day that I don't take it for granted.
But I want to ask you, before we do this segment called Halftime with you, I want to ask you, were there days, though, that you were like, man, this is crazy. This is insane. Like, how did you keep that motivation and that inspiration to see beyond the setbacks?
Yeah, it's a good question. I was raised Catholic, and I'm actually a practicing Catholic. I do the best I can. My faith has just always felt intrinsic to me, through my parents, through my upbringing. I just feel like it's my secret weapon in a real way. I feel my favorite expression is like trusting the slow work of God. So like the slow work of things is something I really believe in. For me, it's my faith with God. For other people, it can be other things. I don't judge anyone's what different people need to kind of get through those tough moments. But that's what it's been for me, and just a strong belief that you're never given too much that you can't handle, you know, and it's been very helpful. And I just when I think back and it all comes down to the people that you meet, you know, like it's more than just the experiences and the stories. It's the fabric that you feel with people, because we're all human. There are days that, you know, it's very challenging, and it still is. Like entertainment, like this shit is not easy. This is like, you know, you got to know what you're signing up for. You know, like sometimes people in entertainment like get a hard time for like complaining about this and that, and like we're all so fortunate to be able to do what we do. But it's just it's no different than like an NBA player, right? Being an NBA player, it has amazing perks. Being a D1 athlete has amazing perks. That doesn't mean it's not really hard and challenging, and you don't have days where you're just like, even though I'm living my dream, you're just like, fuck my dream, right? Like I don't want anything to do with my dream right now. And so, because we're all human, and I think it's so easy for people to just forget how similar we all are, no matter what we're doing, and we all experience the same things. And so, you know, I'm so grateful for everything. There are challenges. We take losses every single day. But you know, I mean, what I loved about like Kobe and his philosophy is like, he would respond to a win and a loss the exact same way. He would just go back to the court and do what he needed to do to get ready and to be prepared. So whether you take a win or a loss, like the next day, you act the exact same.
But it also takes a level of discipline too, though. I mean, you was talking about sports, and I just remember, you know, when Agee and I, we were playing, there's a level of discipline. You got to condition your mind to run harder, or especially like, for example, you're a guard. Guards have to approach the game differently than the big guys. We can't be the last guy up the floor. We got to be the first guys. So what's that level of discipline in you that you still apply to this day when you first went out there?
It's all the process and trusting your process, and like and having good habits. And so my fiance, well, I actually just got engaged a few weeks ago. So this is my first public time. Thank you. I'm talking about my fiance, Natalie. But like I told her, I was just like, if you could get married to me, like there will be times where my discipline like drives you crazy. Because like I stick to my process so closely in terms of sleep, in terms of working out, in terms of work-life balance. Because, you know, I just feel like that being consistent, because you never know how things are going to shake out. But if you are just consistently applying pressure and trusting your process, I just have had a lot of success doing that. So when you know something works and you know something's good for you, it would be insane not to pursue it. But I also I was taught that at an early age. I went to high school basketball 4 years in a row at 6 a.m. in the morning because we shared a gym. So I didn't have the commute that you all had when you had to go to St. Joe's. But like we were there at my high school coach. His name is Coach Kemp. He was on Michigan staff for a while. He wasn't as like, you know, intense as Coach Pinnator, and he wasn't that. I mean, by the way, I could talk there. I don't want to talk too much about your movie. But like there are so many times that like you guys have no idea how often I think about your movie and your experience as part of that help and part of that mindset of discipline. Like I think about the type of content that has meant so much to me over the years, and those things really inspire me.
Well, we appreciate that. Well, Mike, we want to throw at you this thing, man, we call halftime. Agee and I can throw some quick hitters at you, And I got 5 I'm going to hit you with right away. So you got to choose one or the other. Step Brothers or Anchorman?
Anchorman. It's close though. It's close though. It's close though. It's real close. I was just actually telling Natalie, I don't think Natalie's seen Anchorman or Step Brothers. I was just like, I think I'll show you Step Brothers first.
Vice or Big Short?
Big Short.
All right. That was quicker.
Yeah.
Miami Vice, this is a tough one. Miami Vice or Knight Rider?
So you're talking obviously the original Miami Vice, not with Colin Farrell and Jamie Foxx.
Exactly.
Hell no.
Yeah. I'm going to go Knight Rider because, like Knight Rider, I mean, it's a talking car. It's not even fair, but now like on Instagram, when you see some of that fashion that Don Johnson and what's the other dude's name? Michael something? I forget. But yeah, no, they look good in that show. They look good. A lot of the stuff that they wear in Miami Vice in the 80s, you could like go out in Hollywood tonight wearing.
They did change dressing in the culture. They had a good 5-year run with that.
Yeah, they did.
This is going to be a tough one for you. Maybe not. Maybe so, maybe not. Family Ties or The Cosby Show?
Cosby Show.
All right.
Cosby Show.
This one here.
Family Ties, the only thing, I remember Alex P. Keaton, the Michael J. Fox. And I remember thinking it was funny that he was like a Republican, but like the Cosby Show just took over. It just took over everything when it comes to TV and entertainment, It just took over.
Now this last one, I think I might already know the answer for you for this last one. But I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there anyway. Chips, but the 2 riding motorcycle guys, tough police officers, or Baywatch?
I can't call it a tie, can I? I mean, I'm going to say Baywatch because I've seen more episodes of Baywatch. So I think it would be false to claim a show that I've seen less of.
We'll take that.
Take that one. Okay.
Yeah. But Chips, man, that had a great theme song. I remember that theme song. And by the way, we were talking about diversity earlier, like Chips, like having a Latino lead in Eric Estrada, that show is like ahead of its time because I don't think there were
groundbreaking.
I don't think there was like a single person of color in Baywatch until maybe like season 4.
Yes. People of color don't go to the water. I thought you knew that, Mike.
Oh man, yeah, no.
Your top 3 stand-up comedians in your book.
It's got to be Chappelle. I think it's got to be Chris Rock. Man, this is always so tough. I'm going to say my friend Sarah Silverman. Absolutely. I love Sarah Silverman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she has some great comedy specials, too. She has some
those 3, they make it look easy, and it is not easy. Wait, Arthur, am I right? Like, in that scene when you were with the guidance counselor, did you mention at one point you wanted to be a stand-up comedian in the movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta get some stand-up comedians on your show for you.
Absolutely. Which that reminds me, during that time, Arthur was going to he probably had like 6 majors going. He was a stand-up comedian. He was an architect.
I was an accountant.
He was an accountant.
A real estate developer. I said real estate.
You did. You did. Yeah. He had a good run.
And didn't own shit. Didn't even own my dorm room.
Here's one for you, Mike. A few of your favorite Between Two Ferns interviews you have been involved with.
Well, you got to start with President Barack Obama. That was a real button. I don't know if you can. Can you see over here this thing right here? Well, you can't see that.
Is it
but next to that
the picture
light,
on the wall?
Yeah. So that's actually when I started at Funny or Die, in 2008, before President Obama was even elected, I made a guarantee that Funny or Die was going to be able to work with President Obama sometime in the next 8 years. And no one believed me. And so we wrote it down and I signed it. And then when I got to know President Obama, I took it to him at the White House and he signed it. And he says, I'm glad you won the bet and thanks for everything, Barack Obama.
Wow.
Yeah.
First of all, that was a hilarious sketch, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Crazy.
So just so you guys know, when you see things that are funny, all of the credit goes to the writers, the actors, the directors. So Zach Galifianakis, Scott Aukerman, they've been amazing collaborators. It's like the best coaches, right? Like a Steve Kerr, like they're always so, and this is the difference between like Steve Kerr and Bobby Knight, right? Like Steve Kerr, like you talk about the players, right? So like when you're a producer, when you're making things, the players are the actors, the writers, directors. Like my job is just to put the players in a position to succeed. Yeah. And so, but I knew the impact. Obviously, you guys, I mean, you probably even knew who Barack Obama was before I did because of his time in Chicago and Illinois. But, he's a transformational figure. And I knew like the type of comedy that we were making, and Adam McKay and Will Ferrell really cared about using comedy to generate conversation and to get people thinking about the world that they live in. And I knew that our company, we were very fortunate to kind of be rising at that point. I just felt very strongly that there was going to be an intersection of where what we wanted to do could be helpful to President Obama. And that came with healthcare, Obamacare. Because what was crazy, and no one even remembers now, is like that law had been passed, but no one was using it. So, and then they had like the website issues. So we had gotten to know people at the White House. I've been fortunate to meet some amazing people in DC, Kimball Stroud and Brad Jenkins. I got to know people in the White House. And slowly but surely, we started doing work. They started to know us and trust us. And we weren't asking for President Obama off the bat. We were doing the smaller things to work up to that. And then the moment arrived where they needed to do something to get people paying attention about healthcare. And I had been talking to them and we had been talking to them about Between Two Ferns, and we shot it at the White House in the diplomat room. And it came out, and it was a great piece of comedy because we didn't even get to the message until like 3 or 4 minutes into the video. So it was just like pure comedy. And then we got to the message, and then it worked. A lot of young folks signed up for healthcare, and the more young people are signing up for healthcare, the lower the cost got for everyone.
Okay. Yeah, that was so crazy. So was Obama really, he didn't have anything written down. He was just coming off the top?
Yeah.
His response?
Yeah. He's a great stand-up comedian too. Obama is, I mean, because he's a storyteller, and that Dave Chappelle is a storyteller. Sarah Silverman is a storyteller. They use jokes obviously to tell their stories, but President Obama is such a gifted and natural storyteller that comedic timing came very naturally to him.
And the way Zach, when President Obama was insulting him back with the Hangover movies, how Zach was looking at him like this, like.
Yeah, no, Zach is. That's like Zach's not like that in real life, but I'll say that persona comes naturally to him.
Man,
that skepticism.
He was perfect.
And that skepticism and that just like skeptical and just like I'm over it, right? Like I can't believe that we care about celebrities, right?
What else was so funny about it? Zach even started off the interview. He just said Barack Obama. Oh, President Barack Obama.
Yeah. No, that was a great day. That was a great day.
Well, let me ask you this one, Mike. This is going to be a real tough one for you. So I don't know if you want to write this down. I don't know how this is going to be tough. So you are the GM. You got to pick guys from Michigan for today's NBA. You're building a backcourt, 2 guards. I'm going to throw some names at you, and I need you to give me 2 of these guards for your starting backcourt for today's NBA. Jalen Rose, Trey Burke, Jamal Crawford, Ramil Robertson. Let me start over for you because I need you to get all these names. Jalen Rose, Trey Burke, Jamal Crawford, Ramil Robertson, Glenn Rice, Gary Grant, Ray Jackson, or Jimmy King.
I got to pick 2?
That's all you can pick is 2.
Are we really considering Glenn Rice as a guard? I mean, I guess he's a 2-3. But
yeah, he's a 2-3.
Ramil Robinson did call me Chief he saw a play that he saw a nice play by me and he called me Chief in 1990. So I always got love for Ramil. I'm going to go with I'm going to say 3 because I'm going to put Glenn at my 3 spot. I couldn't live without Jalen Rose. I've become friendly with over the years, so I got to go with Jalen at my 1. I got to go Jamal Crawford as my 2, and I got to go Glenn Rice as my 3.
I love that.
So if it had to be 2, if it had to just be 2, I'd still go with Jalen and Jamal just because of Jamal's ability to basically create his own shots. Because he was literally ahead of his time when it came to some of the stuff he was able to do.
Truthfully, I think he still retired too early. I don't understand how the league did not have a fit for him. I mean, that guy's still playing in his own league right now. I mean, he's an incredible talent.
If you was not working in the entertainment business, what else would you be doing? What are some of your other interests? Just if the entertainment door closed on you and said, no, Mike, not letting you in here. Okay, let me just I'll go be an insurance agent.
Well, nothing against insurance agents, but I wouldn't be an insurance agent. I don't remember, Arthur, I don't know if you remember, I don't know if that was one of your 9 or 10 chosen professions, but I'm glad you didn't end up an insurance agent. No, I would want to be like Eric Spoelstra. I'd want to be someone who like came up and put in their dues in college or pros, most likely college, just because of my experience growing up in Ann Arbor. But yeah, no, I would have 100% become a coach. It's not even close. I mean, that's basically producing and coaching. It's almost a 1-to-1 comp, right? You're putting people, you're recruiting people, you're selling people, you're trying to create chemistry and community. Absolutely, it's a coach. I don't know. Maybe I'll still do that. Who knows? I mean, hopefully I won't have to start off as an intern, but you never. But you also don't want to. You always got to pay your dues no matter what.
You should
in the film room.
You should also know that when I was working at the Standard, I had all these internships, and I was actually fired from an unpaid internship, which is possible. So
unpaid,
I still got fired. And what was crazy is I had to enroll in Santa Monica College just to get an unpaid internship. I was then fired from after 4 weeks.
Damn.
Gotta love it. Love it.
Oh yeah, that was a setback, but I think I took it in stride.
Well, Coach Mike, we appreciate you. We're going to call you that from now on now. Coach Mike, we appreciate you doing halftime with us. But what we want to jump into right now, man, is your show. So take us back to 2007, 2008. How did you actually land your position at Funny or Die?
So after doing all those jobs and internships and security guards, my big break was getting a job at UTA. United Talent Agency, which is one of the big premier agencies out here. I worked for an amazing woman named Shauna Eddy, who represented writers and directors for film. So I got to go to Sundance Film Festival in 2005. And the big movie there, maybe you guys have seen it, was Hustle and Flow. Remember Terrence Howard? And so that was the big movie. Craig Brewer directed it, wrote it. John Singleton produced it. Rest in peace. Stephanie Elaine produced it, and I introduced myself to them at Sundance, and I ended up getting a job working for them. And so I worked for Stephanie Elaine and Craig Brewer at Paramount Pictures. I got to be a part of 3 movies in 2 years, which I was very fortunate to do. And then there was, and we were at the Paramount lot, and there was a writer's strike in 2007, and everything kind of just shut down, right? It's no different than like a player strike in the NBA, right? There's no games if the players are on strike. So the writers were on strike, nothing was going on. That company kind of ended and the deal ended. And that's when I started producing a lot of online comedy videos. I just started going to comedy shows. I always loved comedians. I became friends with them. And I was just like the dude who was organized, who like put everything together. And Funny or Die ended up featuring a bunch of the stuff that I was producing. And that's how I got to know people at Funny or Die. And that's how I got hired ostensibly as their first producer 14 years ago. So it's something I always tell people, like, do the job before you get the job. I was already doing the job, just independently producing as much short form comedy as I could on my own. And that's what helped me get the job at Funny or Die.
Do you remember one of your first videos that you was putting online?
Absolutely. Well, the one that really got me over the hump at Funny or Die was this dude, Jerry O'Connell. You probably would recognize Jerry O'Connell. He's been in just TV and movies for like the last like 30 years or so. And I've been making some stuff at UCB, which was like the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater. And I got connected to Jerry. And it was during actually the 2008 presidential cycle. And that's when Obama and Hillary Clinton were like, neck and neck to become the Democratic nominee. And Jerry had this idea for doing a video called Young Hillary Clinton, which basically like imagined what Hillary Clinton was like as like a schoolgirl, like in classrooms and in a playground and stuff like that. Cause like she was just so intense and just so professional, even at such a young age. Yeah. And so I ended up putting that whole thing together for Jerry, like in like 3 or 4 days over like Memorial Day weekend. And Funny or Die, and that caught the attention of Funny or Die. And this dude who worked for Will and McKay named Owen Burke, he had been a PA on a Jerry O'Connell movie called Joe's Apartment. Okay. And so they stayed in touch. And so I basically, if there are 2 people, the 2 people that the reason I got that job or that look at Funny or Die were really Owen Burke and Jerry O'Connell.
Wow.
Love it.
But again, I was like doing the job before I got the job.
Isn't Jerry Connell the guy that was co-hosting on The View? I mean, not The View, the Talk.
Yeah.
And he was in one of the scary movies.
Yeah, and he was in Lean on Me, and he was. Remember that show when we were growing up called Sliders? He was like the star of Sliders.
Yeah.
You'd recognize him. He's a great guy. And similar to sports, right? Like it once you're in it, it becomes a very small community.
Right.
So
right. Who did you have playing Hillary?
Some little girl who's now probably 22. I'd have to like look back in my email. Jamie Lynn. I'd have to look it up. If I had a minute, I could think of her name. She was a talented young actor, but
she must have pulled the hell off of that. Like, damn.
Yeah, she was good. But it's just such a small world. Again, like treating people well, doing the work. Just the simple stuff is just so important. That's like the thing about entertainment, anything, like people are so intimidated. How do you do it? Oh, you just do it like anything else. You treat people well, you do the work. You have to be, and like in sports, you got to be good. You got to be lucky, right? You got to treat people well. You got to find your system. And all of these things is what I've been very fortunate to find out here.
No doubt about that. I want to take you back to 2006. YouTube is bought by Google, starts to grow. 2007, the first iPhone comes out. 2008, Facebook hit its first 100 million users. Also, Funny or Die literally launched in the middle of all of that. But then 2008, there's this financial crash that happened.
Yeah.
What were those early years like? And particularly because you guys was doing something that had not been done before, did you think it was the right time to launch?
Well, so I started about a year after it launched. It launched in 2007 with The Landlord, which was the iconic Will Ferrell video with Pearl, who's Adam McKay's daughter. So yeah, so now Pearl is, she's like probably like 17 or 18 at this point.
Wow.
And so the credit goes to them for launching it. They brought me in a year later as the producer. And so I started, 3 or 4 months before the financial crash of 2008. And we were very fortunate because we made things so cheaply. This was obviously, you mentioned YouTube. This was the beginning of digital filmmaking. So you didn't have to shoot things on film. You could shoot things digitally, which was so much cheaper. And again, it was just like the right system. I knew from the early, I knew I could sell Funny or Die. It's almost like, it's like if you're going on a recruiting visit, right? Like people can feel that conviction. You know what I mean? And I knew I could back it up too. And so I was surrounded by amazing writers and directors. And then I came in and just like I did for Jerry O'Connell, I just started helping make things happen. And so, I'm fortunate. I get this definitely from my dad. I'm never impacted by what other people are doing or not doing. Like timing is important, right? And sometimes a good idea can happen at the wrong time and just be kind of DOA. But if someone says, you shouldn't do that because someone else is already doing it. It's like, well, they can do theirs. Mine's going to be different. Mine's going to be better. Mine's going to be mine. You know what I mean? And so, I never worry too much about what other people are doing. Like it's part of that mindset. Like the competition is really with yourself. There's a great, so within the Catholic faith, there is kind of a group of priests called the Jesuits. The Jesuits. So, like how in basketball, like on the East Coast, like they're all sorts of like Catholic schools where like there's great basketball programs. Well, St. Joe's, I don't know if St. Joe's was a Jesuit school, but a lot of those schools are Jesuits.
St. Joe's isn't. Marquette was a Jesuit school.
Yeah. So Marquette's a Jesuit school. So the Jesuits have a line where, and a saying where they say, compare and despair. And I try and remember that almost every day, compare and despair. If you spend all your time comparing yourself to other people, you're just going to be in a constant state of despair. So like when other people are coming up or whatever, I always think there's enough for everyone, right? Yeah. I don't think like my gain has to be someone else's loss. But I was also just focused on what we had to do every single day to just get a little bit better every day. And so I always knew it was going to work. And I don't even mean that like as an arrogant, I just like I knew that there was going to be a moment with President Obama. I knew that Funny or Die was going to work because the timing was right. There's too much talent. We had Will Ferrell and Adam McKay. Like no one else had them. Right. So you're just like, it's like going in to coach a team. I mean, Phil Jackson is obviously a brilliant coach, right? But like life's a little bit easier if you got MJ and Scottie Pippen.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's how I felt.
I love it. How did you get some of the actors to play the roles? Like the Marion. Did I get that name right? Marion, how you say your last name?
Marion Cotillard.
Yes, doing the forehead. Now how did you guys get that?
It's simple human nature. No one had ever asked Marion Cotillard, who became she's one of the great actors, and acting is hard and it's emotional, and she has to cry and she has to be in a dark place and she has to be miserable. No one had ever asked her to put silicone titties on her forehead. Like but also all in the name of like workplace equality, right? So it has a message behind it too. That was a pitch by Seth Morris, so I can't take credit for the idea. But as soon as I heard that idea, I was just like, I kind of just ended the meeting. I was just like, we're done here. We're making forehead today. And and it worked. So it's no different than when your college coaches were recruiting you. Some coaches can tap into understanding what a player needs to hear. Of course, you always need to deliver on what you're talking about. So it's not just about talking a good game, but what your parents had to hear was a little bit different than what you guys had to hear. So it all comes down to knowing your audience. And so all those times, it was about knowing the audience, knowing what people respond to, coming up with an idea that felt like a win-win. I'm just a big believer in figuring out win-wins. What's good for you? What's good for me? Because when those agendas line up, that's how things get made. And so
now,
how
active were Adam and Will, involved at the start of it?
Oh, huge.
Really?
Oh yeah. No, they were in it. Will's still in it. Adam stepped away a few years ago to kind of focus on his own stuff, but Will's still in it.
Damn.
No, they're Chris Henshey, Judd Apatow. Again, you are the company you keep. I was surrounded by icons and also icons who treated people well. So I was just like, well, I'm not going to fuck this up. You know what I mean?
You had, man, such a progression of success. 2015, you become the CEO, still currently the CEO. How did that role come about? And truthfully, was it just a natural progression for you?
Mm-hmm.
So the first CEO of Funny or Die, another great guy, his name's Dick Glover. That's real. His name is actually Dick Glover.
What's his name?
Dick Glover. So everyone's like, hey, Dick Glover? Dick Glover. What's his name? I just took Gary Payne's nickname. I just always called him the Glove. Yeah, he's a big sports guy too. He had come up at like ESPN and NASCAR. He went to go work. He left Funny or Die to go work for that dude Peter Guber, who like owns the Dodgers and owns the Warriors. So he left, and this really talented guy named Mitch. He actually became like the interim CEO, or maybe he was the official CEO. I actually don't recall. I think he was the official CEO. But Mitch, as talented as he was like from Northern California. He was kind of more on the engineering and the product side. And a lot of the momentum at the company was kind of in the entertainment side and the Hollywood side. And so after a few months, I give him a ton of credit. I think he just felt like organically it made more sense for me to be in that position. And so he stepped away, and it was, so I've been CEO ever since. And it hasn't been easy. I definitely have the white hair to prove it. But it's, we've just gone through so many changes, because like the internet, being around on the internet for 15 years, that might as well be 150 years, because things change so much. And we've had our highs and lows. And actually that new Chance the Rapper song just came on to my playlist this morning. Maybe that's why I thought of highs and lows. We've definitely had our highs and lows. But, I'm just a big believer in, we're a resilient group, right? We just really, so anyways, I'm rambling because it's easy for me to get emotional thinking about like the last 6 or 7 years, because it's been so hard. Did you ever see this clip? I can never find this clip of Isaiah Thomas talking to Dan Patrick about what it was like to win those championships as the Bad Boys. And Isaiah just literally breaks down, because he just is saying how like no one will understand what that was like. I'm not comparing myself to Isaiah Thomas or winning the NBA championship, but like there were moments in this journey where it's a lonely experience being a CEO sometimes when you're going through so much adversity. But I also had great friends and colleagues to help me through it, right? So, yeah, I mean, I don't want to start crying on you guys, but we just lived it. And there were moments where we weren't going to make it, because just the the business had changed so much, and the pandemic and consolidation, and we had so many different constituents. We had like the Silicon Valley folks, we had the celebrity owners, we had the media owners. So like navigating all of that, it was not for the faint of heart, but we got through it. And now we have an amazing new owner, Henry Muñoz, who bought the company a year ago, and very grateful for that. And I think meeting Henry was like an act of God. I don't even know how else to say it. I met him producing a special with Funny or Die for CBS with Eva Longoria and Henry Muñoz, all about the Latino experience during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so we got to know each other and we hit it off, and he wanted to do more in entertainment. So after a Zoom, I said, hey, let me talk to you about something. I said, hey, if you're serious about doing more in entertainment, you should buy Funny or Die, because you'll never be able to buy it for less money than right now. And 6 months later, the deal closed.
Big ups to Mr. Muñoz, man, for that. Big ups, Henry.
Yeah, no doubt.
Absolutely.
There
Big
you
ups
go.
to him for that.
No doubt. No doubt.
So what about the new show, man? The Players.
Oh, we got a new show, Players. It's real good. So we did this show a few years ago for Netflix called American Vandal, which was it's a great show. You know, all the true crime shows that were popping then, you know, like The Jinx and Making a Murder and all that. So American Vandal kind of took like true crime, but instead of like the crime being about a murder, it all took place at a high school, and they were trying to figure out who spray painted all these dicks on teachers' cars out in the parking lots. And it became a huge hit. And we did a second season too, actually at a Catholic school. And this actor, Melvin Gregg, who's amazing. Maybe you probably have seen Melvin in some stuff. He was like the star basketball player. So that season 2 really resonated with me as well. And so those dudes, Tony Yacinda and Dan Peralt, created this new show called Players. It's on Paramount Plus. Have you guys ever played that or heard of that video game, League of Legends?
No, I heard about it.
Well, my
Never
son
played
plays
it,
it. My son plays it.
So it's basically taking the Michael Jordan documentary, The Last Dance, and doing the Last Dance treatment about a team in League of Legends. Because I didn't know this. League of Legends, they have like 5 players. The way League of Legends became so big was like it's a team video game. It's not just you can play one-on-one just like you can play one-on-one in basketball, but like professionals play a team sport. And so it's that Last Dance documentary treatment all set in that world. And it kind of focuses on this guy who's like over the hill. He's over the hill at 27, this dude named Cream Cheese. And then this kid from Philadelphia, organism, he becomes like the hot new shit. And he's only like 17, play a great actor. And so it becomes kind of like their conflict as they're trying to like win this championship, all set in this documentary. It's really good. It's really funny. It's on Paramount Plus now.
I saw the trailer this morning. I said, Cream Cheese. Like, is that not like a sports name though?
Yeah.
Look, man, you going to work every day. You coming up with names like Cream Cheese and shit. For it's crazy, dude.
I know, right? Gotta love it, man.
And you guys know this dude from when we were kids, Weird Al Yankovic?
Yeah,
absolutely.
You know Weird. Used to do all the parody videos.
Exactly. Yeah. So we made his biopic. We have a Weird Al Yankovic biopic starring Daniel Radcliffe, the dude who played Harry Potter. That's coming out in November.
Get out of here!
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm excited for people to see that. That should be a hot one.
Gotta see that. Talk to us a bit about the role that social media has played over the years and how it's even changed comedy in the way that comedians even get noticed now.
Huge. I mean, huge. It's there's a lot of good to social media. There's a lot of bad to social media. But for the vast majority of our existence, social media has been Funny or Die's only marketing budget. Was just the audience that we attracted with the content that we were making. For comedians, it gives everyone a platform, you know, for right or wrong. A lot of people use that platform in less than ideal ways. But for comedians, you know, you can get signed by a major agency just by having a funny Twitter account. or putting videos on Instagram. So it's a natural evolution from what Funny or Die and other companies were doing, 15 years ago. But now with everyone's phone and just being able to self-document your own story and put out your own comedy material and self-distribute, it's changed the whole game.
I mean, you can't imagine you put out a crazy video and it goes viral, and then the next day you have sponsors hitting you up, DMing
No,
you.
the next day you're on Funny or Die.
Yeah. Yeah, we went through all that, but it is a tough business for a company to monetize all. You can become famous on social media and still have to be working your day job,
Yeah.
Because,
yes, Arthur, Agee, and Will Gates definitely know.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But it's that's good problems to have.
Well, listen here, Mike, man, we've taken up so much of your time. Truly appreciate this. I have one more question. Agee got one more question for you. But my question is more about your role and how you see yourself and even with the new ownership, changing the culture in terms of diversity and equality and pay. How do you see that shaping now at the organization?
It's the most important thing I or anyone can do is to change that landscape and get more folks from different socioeconomic backgrounds, color, gender, race, creed, whatever, opportunities. Everything comes down to at-bats. I mean, you guys had a talent at a young age that got you access and exposure to things that other people in your neighborhood didn't have.
Yep.
And it's all about giving back to create that opportunity, real opportunity, not just like talk, but money, resources, education, mentorship.
Yep.
I talk to I was just telling my brother about this today. Straight up, I probably talk to like 3 kids a week trying to get into Hollywood because I can't say no because I remember having no idea. Like my dream scenario for this conversation is that some kid in Michigan or Illinois is going to listen to it and be like, oh, I can do this, right? Like, because you don't have to be intimidated. I get as much out of that as anyone receiving that information. So it's something very important to Henry Muñoz. He's made an entire life out of empowering Latinos. And I'm thrilled to be a small part of that equation, but there's a lot of work to be done and it's not going to happen overnight. So it takes all of us working together to level that playing field. And again, that doesn't mean opportunities have to be lost for other people. It just means there's creating room for everyone at the table.
Man, I'm so glad you said that.
I'm quite sure we're going to have some kids out here, that's shooting crazy videos, and it's like, oh man, Will Gates and Arthur Agee had Mike on the Coach Mike on the show, and he was telling us, lessons he's learned on how to, break into the, to this film industry and business. And, if you could speak to 3 things, what would you tell them, like you said, because there's going to be 1,000 people telling them, oh, no, you can't do that. You can't go out to Hollywood and do that. Well, Mike just said it on the show. So, repeat it for him, Mike. Like, what's the 3 things they can, that you've learned that you can give them?
I'm going to just tell you what I told Shaman Newsom. Shaman Newsom went to the Jalen Rose Leadership Academy. And through our relationship with Jalen, we had many years where kids from Detroit came out to LA and Funny or Die to intern at Funny or Die. And Shaman Newsom stayed in LA and he worked at Target and Jersey Mike's. And he worked and he worked and he worked. And I stayed in touch with him for at least 2-3 years and kind of helped him navigate, meetings and how to kind of present yourself and to kind of tell his story. And now Shaman is working at UTA. He's an assistant at UTA and he is making his way. And so that to me is what it's all about. So I can't tell you anything that people don't really already know, but are sometimes I think like people can't realize that it's like so simple. It's like 1, do the work, 2, be nice. 3, don't stop.
I like that.
You know, do the work, be nice, don't stop. And like I tell everyone, God willing, Shimon is out in Hollywood for 50 years, right? You may not come out, you may come out here thinking you're going to be an actor, a stand-up comedian like Arthur, an accountant, who knows, right? But you can, if you just kind of survive that war of attrition, you will have a job in entertainment. You will get paid to work in entertainment. You may not be a famous movie star, but you can be in the industry. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. There's a million ways to work in this industry. You just got to want it.
Gotta want it. You hear that?
I like those 3. Give us those 3 one more time.
Do the work, be nice, don't stop.
Don't stop.
Agee, hit him with that last question.
Man, Mike, man, we appreciate you coming on the show, man. And we always ask this, what's the next chapter in Mike Farah's hoop dream?
Getting married to Natalie Moran next year.
Happy wife, happy life.
There we go. Yeah, no, it is very much a pandemic romance. I will embarrass her by saying she followed me on Instagram. That's how I found out who she is.
It was, and she is. Like, oh wow.
Yeah, who is this Natalie who just followed me? And a close friend of mine works with her. She's actually an agent at CAA, and a very close friend of mine, Rachel Rush, who's just incredible. I text her. I was like, "Oh, who's this Natalie Moran girl?" And she's like, "Oh, I love Natalie. And Rachel actually got me her number, and that's how we met about 1.5 years ago. And we're gonna get married in Mexico next year. Her family's from Guadalajara, Mexico.
I'm the gold of my era. I've been a trending topic. I'm as fly as a feather. My pocket's macroscopic. See, with time I get better. I'm always in the action, kid. Know I got it locked from Chicago where the toughest live. Concrete jungle, earn my stripes on the pavement there. You make it here, then you can make it anywhere. No comparison. Your game is embarrassing. No one can touch me. I'm all for going there again. Yeah, I think I'm ballin' like I'm Will Gates. I'm hoop dreaming, trying to fight against a sealed fate. More faith, think I'm ballin' like I'm Agee. I'm box office and one day they gon' have to pay me. Yeah, I think I'm ballin' like I'm Will Gates. I'm hoop dreaming, trying to fight against a sealed fate. More faith, think I'm ballin' like I'm Agee. I'm box office and one day they gon' have to pay me.
Hoop Dreams, the podcast, an Unlearning Network production. Written and produced by Arthur Agee, Will Gates, Matt Hoffer, with audio engineering from Matt Savage. For more episodes, check us out at www.unlearningnetwork.com.
Gotta be a dog to survive in this cold weather. Ice in my veins, no need for a warm sweater. I'm coming for it all, best believe I won't let up, yeah. Hey, I think I'm ballin' like I'm Will Gates. I'm hoop dreaming, trying to fight against a sealed fate. More faith, think I'm ballin' like I'm Agee. I'm box office and one day they gon' have to pay me. Yeah, I think I'm ballin' like I'm Will Gates. I'm hoop dreaming, trying to fight against a sealed fate. More faith, think I'm ballin' like I'm Agee. I'm box office and one day they gon' have to pay me.